Hey there. If you are like, I can't find my microphone. If you are like so many of us today, you have moments when you've got creator's block. You've got a deadline to get a new piece of content out. You've got a mission that you're trying to accomplish to get this stuff out so you can make a sale, get new signups for your newsletter list or something. And you are staring at that blank page, fingers on the keyboard, and you're just wondering, what in the heck am I going to say? Well, I've got 5 reasons why you have content creators block and some strategies for how to work around it. Winnie, obviously, and today is Message Monday. So I am going to share this information with you. Feel free to ask questions, make comments. Feel free to let me know your thoughts on this and what about content creation keeps you stuck. I am using your questions and comments as inspiration as I create my own content calendar moving forward. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let me just make sure that technology is my friend this morning. And so let's talk about this issue of creator's block. I've been talking to, excuse me, been talking to several people in the last couple of weeks who have been dealing with this. And we've all been there, right? We've all gone, what in the heck can I possibly create that's new, that's powerful? So there are, in my opinion, as I said, 5 big reasons why we get content creators block. And the first one is that you don't have and of course I'm looking at my notes, you don't have a single clear problem that you're trying to solve with the content that you're creating. You are trying to use a fire hose when a squirt gun is really what you need. And when you don't have that clear focus of a single topic and a single problem that you're trying to solve, you just end up all over the place. And it's why you can't collect your thoughts to take action. Next is you don't have and these are not in specific order, so excuse me. You don't have a clear next step for the person to take. There's no clear call to action that you want to make. You don't know where you're going with this particular piece of content. And as Stephen Covey always used to say, start with the end in mind, of course. So you have to know where you are guiding somebody in order to be able to create great content, excuse me, that ultimately leads them somewhere. I have been dealing with a cough for the last 10 weeks. No, it's not COVID, but it's very annoying. Anyway, so you really want to understand what that most wanted action that you have is. Where are you going to guide them? And one of the additional problems that we can run into when we create content is that we have people try to take too many actions. We have too many calls to action in any one piece of content. Podcasts are really awful for this because we want people to subscribe, we want them to share, we want them to like, we want them to ask questions, make comments, tell us, answer with hashtags. It's just overwhelming and people don't do anything. Everybody is overworked. Everybody is dealing with pressure in their lives, and everybody wants you to give them a simple, clear piece of useful information with a very clear next step. It's just as simple as you can possibly make it. I was just reviewing someone's website and their headline is like this giant long thing because they're trying to have the person do too many things. So you really want to think about what's the simplest thing that you want them to do as a result of consuming this piece of content. It will make the content creation simpler. And that leads me to the fact that you don't really understand, excuse me, your most wanted action. This is, in all likelihood, it's a relationship that you're building. Yes, you ultimately want them to buy something, right? We know that. You want a new client. But there is typically a process that people have to go to in order to be ready to buy. So you have to really understand what's the next reasonable step that's connected to this piece of content. If your content is part of a series, like maybe you're doing a mini series of 4 to 6 pieces of content that lead to a purchase or lead to a call me and schedule an appointment. So maybe you know that you need to refer people back to those other pieces of content. So you're going to seed those pieces of content in this piece of content. Each piece of content ideally is going to stand alone on its own, but they're all connected in the big arc of what you're trying to accomplish. Next is you're just trying to give too much information. I was reviewing some video content that a client wants to give to create, and there's just too much information in any individual piece of content. There are people who don't even like video, so you want to make sure that it is very simple, very direct, and that your content is centered on the single problem. You're going to use pigs as the essence of every message. I started out with a pigs statement, right? Problem, impact, general solution, specific solution, and you're going to then give them the details. So that's always going to be the essence of your message. So make sure that you are keeping things as simple as possible. Know you can create a series. Know that you can then create, I'm going to give you some more tips in just a second. You can say, hey, stay tuned for the next installment. This is part of a series and it's going to help you achieve X, right? Just be honest, be transparent. So let's talk now about how you can overcome writer's block. These are the 5 big reasons. You don't have a single clear problem that you're trying to solve in that piece of content. You don't have a clear next step or call to action for the content consumer to take. You don't really understand that most wanted action, where it fits in the whole buying process and in your selling process. You're trying to include too much information, and you're thinking about yourself. This is probably the biggest one. You're thinking about yourself, not the consumer, not the content consumer, not the person who you are trying to bring into your community, who you want to become a client. When we feel desperate, we're not in our best mindset to create content. I was talking to a new client last week, and she said, excuse me, she said that she was afraid that she would lose clients if she talked about only this, right? The cardiologist doesn't worry that the dentist is going to get the teeth jobs. So if you're confident in your skill set and you're the expert, don't worry about who goes to what else. Yes, there are other things that you can do. However, that other things you can do is probably contributing to the fact that you're not maximizing your profitability. You're working too many hours, and you're just not seen as the clear, easy to refer expert. When you try to say, but I can also do this, you then dilute your overall brand and reputation, and you become harder for others to refer. Okay, so those are the 5 reasons why you've got probably got content creators block. Let me share some quick things that you can do, excuse me, sorry, to get past it. First, start out with a clear content strategy and plan. You're going to embrace pre-selling as your strategy, which puts you automatically in a client-focused mindset. You're going to educate, elevate, inspire, and invite. And you're going to critically look at any content that you create through that lens, through that framework. Do you educate people? Do you elevate yourself in doing so? Do you inspire them about what's possible? And have you invited them to take the most reasonable next step in the process? So create a calendar that is tied to what you're selling when. Now, that throws people into a tizzy sometimes because they don't know what they're selling when, or you're constantly trying to bring in new people into your, into your funnel, your sales process. In that case, what you really want to look at are your cornerstone content topics. Every single one of us needs to narrow our focus, right? So you need to narrow your focus to your central content topics. Often, you just try and do too much. You try to cover too much. I remember back home in Jersey, I used to belong to a networking group, and we would stand up and give our commercial, our 60-minute intro, or a 30-second or whatever the heck it was. It was too long for some people. So there was this woman who ran this group. She was the president, and she would introduce herself, and she would say who she was, and she would say, I'm a mortgage originator, or whatever it was she did in the mortgage industry. I create jewelry. She did create beautiful jewelry. It was fantastic. And I also do this. Like, she was a model. Like, well, what do you do? Because none of these things are related to each other. And it made her sound confused. It made her sound like a jack of all trades who had no idea what she was doing. So this is where you want to really hang your hat and pick your content, your core content, cornerstone content, and that's going to be plenty of topics that you're going to address. Okay, so create a calendar, tie it to what you're selling when, tie it to your sales process, and build it around cornerstone content. You also want to talk to one person, talk to one audience. The number one thing, big problem I had, big problem most clients have, is they are trying to talk to too many people at one time. Don't do it. It automatically creates this frustration. This is why you can't find words, because you don't know who you're talking to, right? At its very essence, you don't know who you're talking to. So make sure you are really talking to one target at a time. Now, maybe you do have a couple of different segments. Maybe you're trying to figure out which is your best segment. Maybe you're making a little pivot, like a couple of clients I'm working with right now. So in that case, then put out a piece of content that targets that particular segment. Then put out a related piece of content, but that's angled slightly differently. Or maybe you have multiple social platforms, don't we all? Pick one for a particular core audience, focus on that topic there, and then create content on another platform for another audience. It helps you separate that so you can start to test and see who's responding. But I'm telling you, this is the hardest thing to do, and has the biggest reward. The sooner you can let go of this fear that, but I won't be able to reach these other people. So, right? So you've got to trust yourself that your message is designed only for certain people. There are people who they have their business content, and then they have maybe a Medium site, a little Medium blog where they write about a passion topic, right? Start to think about this and how you can better focus your content and topics, because I'm telling you, it helps people. It just confuses people. You're damaging your own brand. The other piece you want to think about is where your audience is on the buying journey and on the awareness level of what they're looking for the answer for. So there are people who they've done their research, they have narrowed their choices down. Now they are in that decision making mode where they're evaluating, okay, who's out there? What's the best solution for me? Then they go to make the decision. So there are big pieces of content. I call them billboard content. And they're big pieces that you need to help guide these people through their decision making process. One of the greatest pieces of content that you can create is a buyer's guide. Help people make a decision about what it is they're choosing. So you can create a buyer's guide for anything. Here's a favorite topic of mine is, do you need a consultant or do you need a coach? Because they're two different things. This one of these clients, one of these new clients I'm working with, talked about how frustrated she's been that she's worked with these coaches who did not give her what she needed, weren't able to help her find the solution that she needed. And the reason, I told her this, I said, well, you hired a coach. What you need is a consultant. They're two separate types of people. They have completely different skill sets. If you need somebody to diagnose a problem and then create a prescription for you to follow and help you fix that problem, that's a consultant. It's not a coach. Even though people use these terms interchangeably, they use coach to cover a big umbrella of type of people. They're not coaches, right? I'm not a coach, even though people call me a coach. I'm a strategist, I'm a consultant. I diagnose a problem, I create a prescription for you to fix it, and then I can help you fix it if you want my help. You can also go off on your own and fix it. So, but I'm a consultant. I might use few little coaching strategies, but I'm a consultant. So be clear on who you are and who you need as well. So understand where your audience is on their own buying journey and create billboard content to guide them through that journey. And make sure, this is a big one, make sure you keep an inventory. Oh, I'm so bad at this. One of my number one goals, my top goals for the coming year, keep a content inventory so you know what you've shared and where it fits on the buying journey and what audience you've talked to, where you've posted it, how you've formatted it. This can help you then go back and go, you know what, I already talked about that. Or can help you go, oh, you know what, I talked about that, but it's time to update it because there's some new industry information. I need to update that. Always go back and see what you can repurpose and reuse, right? Rinse, repeat. I'm going to sneeze. And I'm going to sneeze. Sorry about that. At least I was able to mute myself at the time. So, repurposing content is a great strategy, especially because, people didn't see it the first time it came out. So, repurpose, reuse, and repeat, right? Use that content, use that existing content. So, number one thing you can do is keep a strong inventory of all of your content and then periodically review it and see what you can create out of that. Maybe you create enough pieces that, hey, now I do have a buying guide, or you know what, now I have an ebook, or I can create something else off of that. We all know any one piece of content can then create all of these different pieces. So those are some recommendations I have for you on how you can break free from creator's block. The 5 reasons that you have it, run through real quickly. 1, you don't have a single clear problem that you're trying to solve with this piece of content. 2, you don't have a clear next step or clear call to action for that particular content consumer, the viewer, the reader, whoever. You don't really understand the most wanted action that you want somebody to take, because rarely is somebody going to consume something and then immediately buy from you. It happens, but it's rare. You're trying to include too much information, and often in a way that is hard to follow. And you're thinking about yourself, not the consumer, not the content consumer. Always get more client focused so you can really share information that is powerful and helpful. So, real quick solutions for those things: create a content calendar tied to your offerings. I also like to tie one to the seasonal calendar. Create cornerstone content. These are billboard content pieces, cornerstone content topics. Create billboard pieces that then guide people through their buying journey, and understand where people tend to be in the buying process. Make sure you keep that inventory of your content so you can always go back and refer to it. And these things should help you break free from content creators block and help you get your content done and out and have it be more productive. Easy for me to say. All right. Hope that has helped you today on this Message Monday. This has been Winnie Anderson, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Feel free to post questions share comments, and let me know your thoughts. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye for now.